everyone, this is Norm O'Neill with Keller Williams Realty, and today I've got a great guest joining me. I've got Kathryn Swain with McCandlish. She is a local attorney. We're going to talk about probate, estates, something that comes up a lot in my real estate work. Kathryn has a ton of experience in this area, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Let's jump right in.
Norm,
Yeah, definitely. Take a minute and introduce yourself.
I'm Kathryn Swain. As Norm said, I'm an attorney with McCandlish Lillard. We're in Fairfax and Leesburg, Virginia, but I do estate planning, estate administration, which is the post-death work, and then guardianships, conservatorships for incapacitated adults.
Wow, that is a ton. Thank you. Can you tell me a little bit about how estate planning and probate differ, or what is the difference between that?
Estate planning is really the before, and probate is the after, depending on if an estate goes through probate or not. But estate planning is what we're hoping to do before the individual passes away, where they're setting up either a will, a trust, even their powers of attorney for their during life decisions. And then probate is the process that happens after someone passes away. And we'll get into it a little bit more, but if a person has probate assets, then their estate has to go through that probate process. There are ways to avoid having probate assets and even going through probate.
I know people will be interested in hearing about that. Tell me about a little bit about the real estate connection, because a lot of my clients that I'm helping, they have a piece of real property that needs to be sold. And can you tell me how that works in Virginia? Like when someone inherits a home in Virginia, what's the first legal step they should take?
So the first step would be for them to look at how that property was titled during the decedent's lifetime and how it's titled now. Partly they're going to be looking at whether they were a joint owner with the decedent, and if they had rights of survivorship, they may take over as a matter of law and be the sole owner at that point. In Virginia, we have something that sounds kind of silly, but it's called the drops like a rock doctrine. And it's only with regard to real estate, not personal property, but it means that property transfers at the moment of death to either the beneficiary or the heir at law. So ownership transfers right then, but there are other steps that usually either the executor or the other personal representative has to take in order to codify that and make sure it's clear in the land records that the property ownership has transferred.
What are some of the other challenges you've seen, or maybe what's the biggest mistake people could do when handling real estate through an estate?
Well, one mistake would be to sell the property using a general warranty deed. So a lot of people, when they're stepping into this position, they may never have lived in that property. Maybe this is a family member or even a friend, and they don't have personal experience with that property to claim that this, should be completely warranted, that the condition is great, and that someone can move in and not have any problems. So what we suggest is to do what's called a special warranty deed, where they're not doing, a general across-the-board warranty for the condition, and to also make sure that the property is conveyed as is. So if there is damage, whether it's known or unknown, that person's not being held liable and responsible for it.
I love that you brought that up. That's not something I hear about every time when folks are transferring property, is the type of deed they're using. And I know we both would love to talk more to our clients about that and make sure that they're protected in that area. Tell me a little bit more, at what point should someone call an estate attorney, a probate attorney, and when they do call, what should they have ready?
Well, on the planning side, before someone has actually passed away, really anyone over the age of 18 should get these documents in place. Even, college students to have durable general powers of attorney and advanced medical directives in place so that when they go to college, they can appoint their parents to deal with their assets as necessary, even though they're farther away. And then as people become, young adults, they start families, they need to have a plan in place for what would happen if they leave minor children. Who would be the guardians? How would property be transferred to those minors, since they can't legally inherit things outright in their own name? And then certainly as someone becomes, an older adult, especially if they're suffering with any health conditions, we would want to have a plan in place while that person still has capacity to sign any documents that are necessary. After there is a loss of capacity, if that ever happens, that's when we get back to the guardianship or conservatorship proceeding in court, which is public. It costs a lot more money. It's not something anyone wants to go through. So really, there's no perfect time except just doing the estate planning early enough, and at every stage it's appropriate. On the probate side or the after death side, when someone is dealing with an estate administration, I think it makes sense to immediately speak with an attorney and see what needs to be done, because it could be as simple as the attorney telling that person all of these assets were jointly titled, or all of these assets had beneficiary designations, and we don't have to do a full probate proceeding, so you can handle this on your own and give you steps X, Y, and Z to complete. But then you have the peace of mind that you know exactly what to do. And if it is a more complex meeting, you'll have that guidance the whole way before you take a wrong step and actually, maybe create a fiduciary issue, or, just have a misstep basically that gets you into trouble.
That makes sense. As you're speaking, I can just hear how important it is to be in good communication with you so that you know exactly what's going on in your clients' lives, and then you can adjust the documents to benefit them as they mature and get, go through life.
Absolutely. And so much is always changing in everybody's lives. If they have children, those children are growing up and may have different needs for how their distributions are managed, whether they're in trust or not. And then those children may get married, and maybe there's a spouse that the parent doesn't like, a son-in-law or a daughter-in-law, and they want to make sure their property is protected for that purpose. And then maybe there's a divorce and they have to remove someone from their documents. So there's always these life changes, but we can keep up with that, and we can keep up with the law changes, Virginia law changes or federal law changes, if you stay in touch with an attorney and meet those issues on the front end, rather than leaving that mess because it's complicated and you don't want to deal with it, and then suddenly we've got a huge issue after death where all of those things are wrong.
Oh, that makes sense. The time to get ahead of it is now.
Exactly.
Yeah. How could people find or choose a qualified estate attorney?
The biggest thing would be to look for experience in estate planning and estate administration as either a sole focus or a major focus. A lot of attorneys do, across the board work. They different areas. They may not specialize in estate planning or estate administration. So find someone that you're confident in the experience level that they have and the knowledge base they have. And it's completely okay to interview multiple attorneys, and speak with different professionals, have consults, and go to someone that you really trust who's going to keep your issues at forefront and not just be trying to sell you a plan.
Really get to know you and learn what you're trying to accomplish here.
Right.
Specialize too.
Exactly.
Love that. I appreciate you being here and joining me for this video today. It's been super informative for me. I know that so many folks have been looking forward to the video, so I'm looking forward to sharing it with them and getting this good information out there. I'm Norm O'Neill, local realtor with Keller Williams Realty. Remember, questions, concerns, hallucinations, call Norm.